Sales and marketing alignment. We've been talking about this for many years, and my belief is we're going to be talking about this for many years more. Why is that? I think firstly, it's because it's very difficult. And secondly, it's not actually a destination, it's about going on a journey. But is that journey worth travelling? Well, according to research from 3 different organisations, IDC, for example, have done research that proves that if you don't align your people around process and technologies, you can lose up to 10% in revenue per year. Now, Serious Decisions did some research over a 3-year period and found that companies with tight sales and marketing alignment had 24% faster revenue growth and 27% faster profit growth. And marketing profs found that you get 36% higher retention, 38% higher win rates, and an astonishing 208 more marketing source revenue from a tightly aligned sales and marketing department. And that bar is not even in scale, it's off the chart. So the question to you is, does anybody here believe that sales and marketing alignment, when you really work at it, would it yield more results? Does anyone disagree with that? Good, I thought there might be one mad person in the room. But no, maybe you're still thinking it in your mind, so hopefully by the end of this talk that you will appreciate the value it can bring. And if not, let's meet for a drink afterwards, because I will try and convince you. The first thing about sales and marketing alignment is that it's about marketing alignment and getting your house in order. There's no point trying to work with a sales team and say to them, it's time for us to work better together, if you're a mess yourself. So get your house cleaned up before you invite people to come over. And the issue of marketing today is that it's become so specialized with PR and comms and digital and social and events and all these different areas, and they all report into directors who report into chiefs, that it's become a very siloed department in itself. So we're going to talk today about how to break down those silos. And the next part about sales and marketing alignment is actually, it's not just about sales and marketing working together. And that isn't really the goal of sales and marketing alignment. What we're really trying to achieve here is to get the team to work together to be aligned with the customer and the customer's journey, and to create a joined up organisation, which then means that actually it's more than just sales and marketing. It's engineering, product management, because they're making the products that we're selling. It's pre-sales and sales because they're selling it. And it's also services and consulting. So everybody in the organisation who's customer facing is part of this buzzword of sales and marketing alignment. And when I say it's about a journey, it's about continuous improvement, continuous innovation, and creating that competitive edge and trying to beat your competition. And it's a never-ending story. But what I'm going to talk about today is some real life and real world examples of how they've been successful, and also talk about an evidence-based approach by working with hundreds of companies on how you can plot where you are in your journey today. And knowing where you are, you can then start to put strategies together to say, how do I get to the next level? In his book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, Horowitz talks about a time when his company, Opsware, was about to go bust. He could see the books, they needed to release a product, and it needs to be released on time, and they knew it wasn't going to happen. So the company had weeks to last. So he called the CEO, he called everybody out into a big hotel, big ballroom, and announced to the company, we are in dire straits, we're in trouble. We need to pull out all of the stops. We need to make sure that we do every hour available every day that you can work. And what happened was that some of the people said, do you know what, this company's sinking, I'm out of here. But most people stayed. And what they did was they did work every hour and they turned that company around. And it was then sold to one of the biggest software companies in the world. And he gets to write a book about it. If you haven't read the book, Hard Thing About Hard Things, do read it. Now what that tells me is that in the industry we work in, there is a lot of change and a lot of transformation, and I'm sure you guys have been leaders in that change. For myself, I once worked for a company that went through 3 CEOs, 3 CMOs, and 3 chiefs of sales in a 3.5-year period. Okay? That's some serious change. My responsibility in that job was looking after marketing operations and demand. And the CMO would come to me and say, right, Adrian, we used to be owned by one venture capital firm, but now another venture capital firm has bought us. So we've got some new people in. They're investing money and they're asking how much, what's the return on investment we're getting from marketing? How much is marketing spending and what are we bringing in return? How do we do this, Adrian? I said, well, we asked the salespeople to start using the CRM system and filling it in, which they bloody hate doing. At the same time, I remember the third new chief of sales came along, and he was given 6 months to turn around the organisation, the sales team. Now, the previous head of sales, he had left, taken some of his best people with him. And so the new head of sales said, right, that's it, I've got to rebuild my organisation. He brought over his sales operations people from his last company because they were well aligned, they knew how to work together. And my job was to interface with these people. But the issue was that all they were worrying about was the short-term goal that the board had given them. It was like, for the last 3 or 4 quarters, this company has not been able to forecast what it is going to close in this quarter. And what that creates is a lack of trust in the investors, the owners, and the board members on, can this company, does it have a future? And if not, they're going to sell it on to the next venture capital firm. And you don't want that. So the stability in the business was we had to make change happen. And the issue with trying to measure marketing is that you need salespeople, when they accept a lead from you and they convert it into an opportunity, that they put a value against that opportunity. That seems quite straightforward. But when the building is on fire, there's not enough salespeople, and the salespeople who are there can't even forecast what's happening in quarter, and marketing's asking, oh, we've got this lead, it's probably close in 12 months' time, no interest. So this is one example of a challenge between sales and marketing alignment, because quite frankly, they don't have the same goals. Now, you could blame the board, but the board is telling sales what they need to do, they're telling marketing what they need to do, and as we've said, it's up to sales and marketing to work it out. It's not the board's job to make us play together. You know, we're old adults here, we've got to work it out. But at the same time, as I said, the engineering department are also involved in this sales and marketing alignment. And what was starting to happen was that they were starting to develop features and functions for some of our big customers and not thinking about the business benefits. And our product management team weren't really interfacing enough with the customers that we wanted to work with and the industries we wanted to go into. So we weren't really sure what was the future of our products that we were creating. At the same time, we were bringing out new products and new solutions and going into new industries. And the salespeople were getting quite fearful of, they were used to selling to a CIO and a CTO. We said, oh, why don't we start selling to the CFO? We realized that that is a very big step change to make. And a lot of salespeople weren't comfortable. So we needed to give them more training and more education. So when we talk about sales and marketing alignment, it isn't easy. But what I want to give you now is an example of a case study that we'll look at in depth of how it works for one individual company, just to really bring it to life. And then I'm going to talk about a more evidence-based approach and a model that you can use, because one company isn't the same as you, but with the evidence-based approach, you can take on that framework. And there's no better company to give an example of sales and marketing alignment than a company that's won an award. So they won the Serious Decisions Award for a data-driven revenue engine, really about sales and marketing working together to have this double-digit sales growth that they wanted to achieve. This story is really about having more revenue with less budget. We've just spoken about how that is achieved from the numbers point of view, but now I'm going to talk about more to do with the people and the way they work together. After the first year, we achieved a 100% increase on marketing sourced revenue. That made sales very happy. But we did this by only increasing the sales accepted leads by 50%. And the reason for that is that we didn't want to bombard sales with too many leads. As you said earlier, just doubling the number of leads does not double the number of revenue. Marketing or sales has a capacity, especially in this organization's example, they were down on salespeople. So we really worked hard at marketing of getting our house in order, cleaning up the way that we worked and only giving them quality leads. And therefore, we saved money by not just doubling the number of leads of what we were doing before, and that increased our return on investment. So the first step in this journey when sales and marketing aren't working together is to get your house in order and to do something that pushes forward, that gets sales to see that you've given another 3.5 million in revenue. Yet you could argue, if we weren't here, we wouldn't have had that. So do you need marketing? Yes, you do. Can you prove it? Yes, you can. So that's nice, but how? Well, it's really built around 3 key areas: people, playbooks, and performance. For CA, the people element was around sales and marketing jointly partnering to focus on this growth. They were at the forefront of this transformation, and they brought the other teams in with them because this was a true business transformation. For the playbooks, really we're talking about a mixture of strategy, process, and maybe some light governance. Like, I don't like the word governance. It sounds like you're being policed, but it's really about creating accountability between sales and marketing and them holding each other accountable. And really what we're trying to do here is to create this joined up sales and marketing effort. What we're really talking about is a joined up customer journey, where you're looking at what is this leads to revenue journey? How do you measure marketing's efforts from leads all the way through to revenue? And then it's not just sales responsibility after it's handed over to them. Take responsibility for the entire funnel. And performance is about making sure you have aligned goals. It's not having the same goals, but there is alignment between what you're trying to achieve. And this has to be backed up by integration in your CRM, your marketing automation, and also your business intelligence. And I'll explain that in more detail in a moment. So this is the simplistic way to understand the three Ps. But let's look at people in more detail. We started off by looking at creating a performance culture. The company was originally Austrian. They like to follow process and follow rules. Now, that's great if you're a nuclear power station. Everyone must follow process, because if you don't, someone's going to die. When you're a software company, it's not quite the same. You need to be a bit more agile, a bit more dynamic. And sometimes you do have to break the rules to get stuff done. So it's all about understanding why was the process important. So the company worked from the bottom up and the top down, sitting together going, who are we, what do we stand for? It was also made up of previous acquisitions where there was originally Austrian, they bought an American company, they then bought a French company, and then grew an office in the UK. So you had these 4 country cultures, and also the management in those regions were very different. And so just this different culture, and they even talked about their company in the old name that it was. So there's a real effort to bring all these companies together. Through this exercise, you start looking at the capabilities of the individual people and start looking at how the organisation is designed. And it was very regional based, because I said it was these acquisitions. And we realised, for example, that there was a guy in America who was great at marketing automation. So they had the best campaigns, the best conversion, and everyone else around the world was looking over the fence going, how are you doing that? And so we said, actually, we're going to promote this guy into a global role, and we're going to find our best social person and our best this person, and put this global team together of a crack squad, who we called it the Global Demand Centre, and they were going to help people globally at these specialist areas. Now, you still need marketing people in region, and actually what we found was that most of these people were events managers, and you need that because you need to physically be there. So we gave them specific training on how to become more business focused and understand marketing and sales, how to work together. And we just called it a revenue team and said, when you're working with your sales leadership, you are a revenue team. It's not sales, it's not marketing, it's working together. The company wants to do this double-digit growth, and we're going to work together to make sure this happens. And when you talk about the governance and the rigor, we start to have, say, regular interlocks. And we worked very hard on this. So there's a couple of people here from CA. So we really made sure that every region spent 2 hours every month looking at the data. We called them interlocks because we're interlocking sales and marketing. Sometimes we brought along the consultants, some services, engineers, just so they could see the challenges between marketing and sales trying to deliver products to customers. We were looking at campaigns. An example would be at the start of the quarter, if you said you're going to achieve this many leads and an event is cancelled, then you better put another campaign in place to make sure that we hit this number, because we've reverse engineered the entire pipeline to say what we're going to achieve. And likewise, marketing held sales accountable, saying, well, you said you need this many leads, there's all these leads over here, and they're not getting followed up. And actually, that one individual salesperson is the one who's holding onto all those leads. And seriously, sales directors would just ring up that person on the phone in that meeting and go, what's going on here? And it's about having that change and having that live data. The final part on people is around lead management and nurturing. Now, this is really having to work very closely with the sales team. And again, this is a never-ending story of when is a lead a lead? When does marketing give the lead to sales? And it's going to be different in every region. Even the individual person might have different ideas on a different day of when they want to lead. So it's really difficult to codify and say, well, when do I pass this to you? Do you want all leads from all chief execs? Yeah. Well, this is a one-person company, so I don't want that lead. And you start to work out how to score these leads and how to automate and when to send them over. And on the nurturing side, we had to educate sales that it's not just marketing automation and digital nurture. They had a responsibility as well to do tele-nurturing. If there was an opportunity that was a year away and they said, well, can you guys keep them warm and just send them an email every month and whatever. So, okay, that's nice, but you've still got to touch base with them next time they download something. Give them a call. Don't ask for a meeting. Say, hey, I saw you downloaded this report. Oh, how did you find that? Was it interesting? I've got this other thing as well. Here, why don't you have that? And keep them warm so they respect you. Now, when we look at Playbooks, it's this joined up leads to revenue journey, and you really need to sit down with sales. And in my situation, they weren't interested until they saw the results and they saw that marketing was trying to work really hard, and certain individuals, you just keep chipping away, and it's a case of just try and do as much as you can to get your house in order, and they'll start to see that you're improving. And if the stories of the past of marketing's rubbish, all these leads are crap, it will start to change, and it'll get over that tipping point, and then you'll start to see that it starts working. Now we talk about product market fit. We start to look at different countries and different regions and say, actually, not all products are relevant in every country and every region. So don't treat all of your leads in the same kind of way. Understand that in certain countries, they're buying one product, in another, they're not. And that was really based around getting together all the sales organisation, marketing organisation on and off site for 2 days. And we invited engineering, products and consultants, anyone who knew anything about our products and our markets, all the brains in the business that supposedly know our customers, to sit down and go, we're acting like a schizophrenic company that's all different cultures and everything. How do we make our choice to choose 3, 4, 5 or 6 big plays that we're going to go after for the next year, real campaigns? And we call these go-to-market campaigns because they're not marketing campaigns. They are company-wide campaigns where engineering, who are building the product, are giving input on what is this product about. Product management, spending time with customers and getting their feedback. Marketing, doing the execution and making sure we measure. Pre-sales and sales, being trained by the engineers. And this is where you start to get into the enablement side of things, where if you're really want to get your company to focus, it's choosing a bunch of plays. And for us, it was 6. And I think for any country, 4 of them would be relevant because they said certain products didn't work. And you need to find those and get people to focus on them. We're also working a lot with IT, and being an IT company or a technology company, software company, we started to work in an agile way with IT on releases. And then we said, actually, it's a big buzz at the moment, agile for marketing instead of working a waterfall approach. We found it worked very well for our business because we were changing so fast and we were trying to create 6 campaigns at the same time. That would have taken us a year to plan out in a waterfall approach. And sales can't wait a year for a campaign to be ready. So it was like release the first email, get the leads in, nurture them with the next bit. So just get the campaign going and then start getting feedback from sales and feedback from customers to say, how can we tweak this? How can we improve this? Instead of trying to do a big bang approach, break it down into smaller pieces. And on the playbook side as well, it really needs to have integration with back office functions. So we needed HR because we needed to rehire people and fill in the gaps when we went through the org design. We also needed to work with finance because on the CRM system, we were looking at how do we measure leads through to revenue. And actually, all we could do is leads through to bookings when someone signs a contract. Now, sometimes a company signs a contract, but they don't pay you for a while, or they shelve the product and don't use all of the licenses. And we really wanted to show to the board leads right through to revenue. So that meant integrating our CRM system with our business intelligence and our finance systems to get that true number. Now, performance is really about this insight and this learning, and make sure you have a platform to get this information. As we had new board members, they wanted to know what are the key measures that the business is looking at that will tell you, are we on track or not? Key performance indicators are key here, and it's sharing with the board, but also with the wider business. And then beneath that, each individual had their own objectives. But we moved away from a management by objective approach to an objective and key results approach. They're quite similar, and actually OKRs have been popularized in recent years by Google, who've done very well. And the main difference is that with your OKRs, you have visibility of what your goals are across the entire organization. It's not just with your manager. So with that visibility, people can see, well, what's Adrian working on and how close is he to achieving what his goals are? And actually, he's doing something similar to what I'm doing. Why don't we work together on this? And that's the visibility you need to create between sales and marketing and the wider organization. And this is where we also had a company-wide project management platform. And that platform meant that a company could work across different silos and different departments and have accountability of who was working on what area. And when I talk about real-time analytics, I'm talking about stop going to meetings with spreadsheets. It's 2018 and it's the 21st century. And how many meetings have died from saying, oh, I downloaded this spreadsheet yesterday, oh, I downloaded mine this morning, oh, these numbers are different. There's just no need for that. It's just wasting time. Make sure you have real-time analytics and you're both looking at the same numbers all of the time. And a subset of that is going to the board. So that's a very simplistic overview of how Computer Associates went through this process. But what happens, I've shown you the results after 1 year. After 4 years, the company had gone from achieving 17% of marketing source pipeline to over 60%. You can keep going. I don't know if you can get to 110% marketing source pipeline. But what happens at this stage is that the salespeople start saying, okay, will you stop talking about how much of the pipeline has been sourced by you? We get it. You're really, really helping us. And then you start to talk about other things like, actually, we've got these deals. Can you do some campaigns to help us close these deals? And the relationship starts to evolve. And then, so this is a fascinating case study. And Chris Borman, Dr. Chris Borman here, the CMO, has a webinar on Bright Talk. So you'll get this presentation afterwards, but do listen to that because he's talking about it in his own words, in a lot more detail. But what you start to see is a pattern. I've done this with hundreds of companies, and what you start to see is an evidence-based approach to say, this is actually a journey. Companies at the start are doing activity generation. You go to the marketing department and you say, hey, how's it going? They say, yeah, I did 5 email shots and we did 3 events. Okay, that's nice. What came from that? So there's no talk of the activity or the outcome, the business outcome. The next type of department around lead generation, they say, yeah, we came back from an event, we got 100 leads, and they're holding a goldfish bowl with 100 business cards. Okay? From a competition, and we don't know who these people are. So it's nice, you're building the database, but these are not leads. So the next step up is around demand generation. And how you're creating demand is by looking at, actually lots of people are reading our content and coming to our website, but they're not all going to become customers. So we need to start qualifying these as marketing qualified, and then sales accept them, sales qualify them, and then they become opportunities. So you start to create more rigor and process and more of a playbook around how sales and marketing work best together. This is when the tide starts to turn because you're having more conversations with sales and they're starting to understand, okay, this marketing stuff is not that easy. It's actually quite scientific. And these marketing people are working really hard at cranking and trying to improve these conversions. And so they start to understand that they do need to give feedback. They start to understand actually there is a point in using the CRM system and filling in the information that you're asking for because they know they're going to get better quality leads because you've proved it to them. At this stage, sales and marketing create a relationship where there is greater trust and the accountability means that they're ready to have conversations, tough conversations, to point at each other to say who's not doing their part of the job. That is when marketing can go to revenue generation. There's a lot of talk, a lot of noise in the industry by normally marketing technology companies saying, revenue marketing, that's the place to be. You cannot be there until you've gone through these steps and built that relationship with sales and marketing. Because no marketing person is going to take a revenue number, whether that be pipeline or bookings, if they don't trust their sales team. If they say, they don't follow up on our leads. So there is steps that you go through. Now, the ultimate, sitting behind the sun and glowing, is value generation. Because what starts to happen is that when you get a company that starts to look at this information, starts collecting this data, they start to get a lot of rich historical data. And from that rich historical data, you can use predictive analytics to say, actually, that lead with that job title in that industry looks a bit like all these others that we've done. You start to find patterns. And do you know what? They kind of bought one little thing and then they never bought anything more from us. So actually, we're going to predict the lifetime value of this lead as being quite low. and so we're going to disqualify it. Even though it will bring in revenue, it's going to waste our salespeople's time. When you start working like that, you will have the ultimate respect for sales, from sales. Likewise, when sales are saying, okay, you've got 60% of the pipeline from revenue, can you help us close more deals? You can start to look at customer churn. And if you've got a group of customers that you must keep, and then you look back a few years and there's patterns that customers go through. They'll make complaints, there'll be calls, there'll be issues. And you can start to work out patterns that say, actually, I'm going to predict for the next 12 months that these customers are likely to churn. Some of them, well, we're not fussed about, but these ones we really, really must keep. And using that kind of predictive analytics, you can then start to do advanced account-based marketing. And that is where the ultimate sales and marketing relationship can work together. You're not going to digest this now, but you'll get these slides afterwards. What you start to get is you can set out a matrix of where you are today and where you want to be in a year or 2 years' time, and start to move forward with these steps. So that's freely available on the website, so digest that later. So in summary, we look at people, playbooks, and performance. The people is around having a shared purpose and having a culture where it's open and there's accountability between sales and marketing. The playbooks are around having a strategy where you understand what your customer is doing and you align yourself and your company to be where your customer is, and to make sure sales and marketing and everyone else who's customer facing is doing the best job to make sure there is a joined up customer experience. And having a performance culture, or just having a performance outlook, is saying that you're going to look at the insight and you're going to learn from that, and you're going to develop your people and use that as the guidance. And it's about the systems and platforms. But the thing is that the amount of people that call me and say, Adrian, my marketing automation isn't working, can you fix it? My CRM isn't working, can you fix it? It's not the technology that's the problem. It's their people aren't working together, and they don't really have playbooks. They don't have a strategy, and they haven't got their house in order. What are you hoping to automate if you haven't got your house in order, if you don't know who you're selling to and what you're doing? So always start with people, work together on the playbooks, and then start to perform as you then start to get these good plays. So finally, in summary, people is about trust and commitment. Playbooks is about helping to give people direction and accountability. And performance is about insight and learning. So I hope you can take this away with you and optimize your funnel. Thank you.